really too many announcements, just really one main one. Just to advise that our office is going to be closed for some time, so we apologize for any delays. If you have any calls or inquiries, inshallah we'll get to it at our earliest convenience, but we appreciate if you could be patient with us during this time. And lastly, our guest imam, who's going to be doing the general khutbah today, is Sheikh Aarij Anwer from the London Muslim Mosque. Thank you very much for your time. Jazakallah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum.
ماني شحات من الخلاق. ليه بس شحات دستوري يعني.
عنده كل الشغل اللي يضرب الثاني هيجي ليش الفكرة حط لك هذا بعدين حتدخل البارتيشن كده عهد العالم وهذا السلطة الأساس يعمل يعمل واقع
يعمل شيء من عدة تشهد كل الواحد يسعى
ما
هو الحق معاه
شو يطور حاله بالاستاندرستاند نلبسها وبعدين كلمة المنبر ولا كيف أقول لك كيف ولا
المنبر أنا أشنع شيء المنبر والله قاعد إنه بوت هذا البحر لا لا
شيء اوكي فيني اتبرع بس مكتوب لحد روح حطه على البارتيشن
بدنا ناس تشوف
على البارتيشن بتشوف مرة بتشوف على ما عمين
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين قال الله تعالى في التنزيل العزيز بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. We live in very strange times, brothers and sisters. At times that are confusing, they're dark, but also times that are uplifting and hopeful. If you look at what happened since the shooting at the mosque in New Zealand 2 weeks ago, you would find that in America, around 4 or 5 people have been assaulted, Muslims have been assaulted. In the UK, the number is about close to a dozen, including an incident at a mosque. In California, there was a mosque that was attacked. It was an arson attack. They were trying to burn it down, and the person who did so left a note referencing the shooter, the New Zealand shooter. He left a note referencing that. This all happened in the 2 weeks since the shooting at New Zealand. It's not like you would imagine that after seeing a tragedy like that, people would, even those who have those same values of hate, that they will maybe have a moment of pause. But in fact, to the contrary, that incident emboldened them even more. And you see these incidents happening across the globe. The UK, America, New Zealand, it's literally a global phenomenon. So it's confusing. It's very dark. But also you have very hopeful situations. You have the Prime Minister of New Zealand making some of the best statements and taking some of the most promising stands you can take as a leader, calling for a resolution, calling out Islamophobia, attending the funeral, really showing solidarity that's meaningful, not just lip service. It's very promising, very hopeful. We see that actually from more and more people, more and more leaders around the world, that the solidarity that they offer is not lip service anymore. There is some meaning to it. if you remember, maybe 4 years ago, 2015, there was a shooting in America, in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. There was 3 young Muslims that were shot, execution style, in the head. And at that time, it was extremely difficult to call that incident an Islamophobic or a hate crime incident. It was called a parking dispute, believe it or not, between 2 neighbors. I don't know how you deal with parking disputes, but that's definitely not how parking disputes are dealt with. Since that time now, we have at least leaders calling out Islamophobia for what it is. A hateful ideology. So we live in these really confusing times, brothers and sisters, where there is confusion, there is people who just hate us for our existence, and not just in a particular place of the world. It's like a global phenomenon. And at the same time, you have signs of promise, signs of hope. That's what makes it difficult. You look at the mosque at Oxford Street, at LMM, and I'm sure here as well, there were people who came from all walks of life, bringing flowers, their thoughts and their prayers after the incident happened. We were actually overwhelmed by the number of thoughts and prayers and flowers and gifts that we have received. There's one lady who came to me, she was actually from New Zealand, and she came crying, and she said, I don't have any words to express what I'm feeling right now, but these flowers, I hope will offer a message of solidarity and condolence. She felt compelled to do that. She brought her children. She brought this picture of a kiwi. You know what a kiwi is? The kiwi is the national symbol of New Zealand. It's a bird, not the fruit. And the kiwi, in that picture, is crying. And the date on that picture was dated to the incident of the shooting. It's a very beautiful message of solidarity that that nation does not stand with that. The nation where this happened, New Zealand, is mourning with us. It's a beautiful message. But like I said, we are in these confusing times where we see these beautiful messages of hope and peace and solidarity, meaningful solidarity, and then at the same time you see more hate, more attacks, more Islamophobia. It's almost like they're both growing in parallel. In these confusing times, brothers and sisters, we find our guide and our solace in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We find our way in the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. How he dealt with adversity is an example for us in how we should deal with our adversities. How he dealt with confusing times. How he dealt with confusing times is a model for us on how we should deal with our confusing times. And the same Sharia that was inspired to him, that guided him, that took him through all the difficulties that he had faced and brought him out winner on the other end, is the same Sharia that's there for us as well, that gain the inspiration from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Fussilat, he said, مَا يُقَالُ لَكَ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ قِيلَ لِلرُّسُلِ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Nothing is said to you that's new. Everything that's said to you, O Prophet, was said to a prophet before you as well. Every accusation made against you, every type of hate you experience, O Prophet, was experienced by a prophet before you as well. It's not new. It's gonna happen. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell the Prophet ﷺ is, it will happen, people will hate, people will say things that are completely offensive, people will say things that we won't stand for, but that's how things have been throughout history. The Prophet ﷺ is being told, you have to be patient in the face of this. The Sahaba, when they faced a difficult circumstance, for example, the battle of Al-Khandaq, the Battle of the Trench, also known as the Battle of Ahzab, where there was a coalition of armies that had gathered to attack the Muslims. And it was such a difficult time that the number of the residents of Medina was smaller than the number of the army that was out there trying to attack them and had laid siege to them. Medina was roughly 10,000 people. The number of the army was about 11,000 people. And the population of Medina included children and women and old people, people who can't fight. This was an impossible battle. And they were laying siege to the city of Medina. And if you've studied a little bit of history, or maybe you watched some historical dramas or something, you would realize that when an army lays siege to a city, the goal is to starve that city. The goal is to cut off supplies, to whatever they have inside their homes is what they survive on until they surrender. That's what they were trying to do. Literally to starve the entire city of Medina, and the people inside Medina knew they had no shot in fighting this army of 10,000 plus. In this situation, as you can imagine, the Sahaba, who were human beings, were extremely terrified. وَزُلْزِلُوا زِلْزَالًا شَدِيدًا, like Allah says, they were shaken to the core. زِلْزَالًا شَدِيدًا, shaken to the core. وَبَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبُ الْحَنَاجِرِ, the fear was so severe that metaphorically your hearts were reaching your throats. You had trouble breathing. That's how tough it was. And people would say things to the Sahaba. They would say, إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَخْشَوْهُمْ. People are here to kill you. Be afraid. فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. But what was the response of the Sahaba? The fear was natural. You cannot just program away fear. You're going to fear. This is how we are as human beings. As a human emotion, as a response. Okay? That's going to happen. But what is the response of the person who, after having experienced fear, has iman in their heart? Has iman in their heart. What is their response to this difficult, dark situation? فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. Their iman increased. Their iman increased because of the difficult situation they were in. And they said, Allah is going to be taken. Allah is enough for us. Allah will take care of us. حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. And He's the best of those who takes care of people. He's the best at it. This dark time, brothers and sisters, that the Sahaba were facing, did not make them lose faith, did not make them lose hope. It did not make them just think that the odds are impossible, so it's all over. It actually increased their faith and devotion and commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they said, Alhamdulillah, Allah is going to take care of us. Allah is there to take care of us. He will make sure that if He brought us to this, He's going to bring us through it as well. This is the attitude, brothers and sisters, that I think we need to have when we deal with these difficult times that we live in. These difficult times where we are not sure what to make of things. When you have, like I just mentioned in my introduction, these forces, these contrary forces, both acting at the same time. This force of hate and this force of love and solidarity, and they're both, increasing in strength almost simultaneously. In these confusing times, we have to not lose hope. Our faith shouldn't dwindle because of this. Our commitment to our faith should not waver in any way. فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. The example lies in the actions of the Sahaba. When they faced much difficult situations, their iman went up, their commitment and devotion went up, not down. That has to be the way we approach this matter or any difficulty that we face. Any difficulty that will come, and there's going to be plenty to come for us. There's going to be plenty of difficult situations that will come, and we have to face it with the same attitude, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Now, I wanted to highlight from the life of the Prophet ﷺ and from the Quran one particular surah, one surah and its application to the life of the Prophet ﷺ. I wanted to highlight this so that from this surah we can extract some lessons on how to deal with these confusing and dark times. I already told you the example of the Sahaba and how they dealt with very difficult odds. But just in a situation where we're confused and we need some clarity, it's important to turn back to the Quran to seek that clarity. I want to share with you all Surah Al-Sharh, Alam Nashrah Laka Sadrak, a beautiful surah that Allah has revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. A very short surah, very powerful surah. And it has many important lessons. And I'm going to share two main ones for us inshallah here. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet, Alam nashrah laka sadrak, have we not lifted up your heart and removed your burden? Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak alladhi anqadha dhahrak, the burden that weighed so heavily upon your back. Wa rafa'na laka dhikrak, and have we not given you a high renown and a high remembrance. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So surely with every hardship there is ease. With every hardship there is ease for sure. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. So when you are free, strive hard. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. And to your Lord turn all your attention. This surah is a very beautiful surah. It's so packed with lessons. There is, I was reading a paper on how beautifully this surah actually mimics the linguistic style of the story of Musa alayhi salam. But that's a conversation for a different day. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in this, Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. Right, the word wizr is the same root that appears in the story of Musa when he's asking Allah for help. وَجَعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري. The connection between the two prophets and the parallels are very beautiful linguistically. That's a different topic for a different day. What I want to share is what this surah means for us and how to find a little bit of a guiding light. The guiding light that we can get, number one, is hope and optimism at all times. Look at what Allah tells the Prophet ﷺ. Have you not lifted up your heart and removed your burden and given you a high renown? These are rhetorical questions. These are rhetorical questions. The answer to all these questions is yes. Allah has removed the burdens from the Prophet ﷺ. He has given him a high renown. He has given him a type of acceptance and love that nobody has ever enjoyed. These are rhetorical questions. The answer to that is yes. Now, here is the beautiful part. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah to the Prophet at a time where he was going through much difficulty. Much difficulty. The pressure of society, like the pressure rather particularly of his enemies that they were putting on him was bearing down very heavily on him. It was very difficult for him to bear. It was tough for him to see the persecution of his companions. It was difficult for him to see the constant rejection of other tribes of Arabia. Did you know the Prophet ﷺ went to the people of other tribes of Arabia at every Hajj when they would gather to tell them about Islam and hoping one of them would take him in and allow him to establish a base. And 11 times he was rejected. 11 tribes heard the Prophet ﷺ say, I am Rasulullah, here is the message, give me a base and give me a place so I can preach. And they said, we don't want this. Until the 12th one, which was the Ansar, Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, sorry. They're the ones who took the Prophet ﷺ in 11 times. Can you imagine? The Prophet ﷺ was rejected to his face. So these pressures are piling up on him. In the middle of all these rejections, in the middle of all this difficulty, it's easy to wonder, what am I doing? Is that even right? Am I even doing something that's correct? Is it really my fault? Or what's really happening? You start to doubt yourself. That's when Allah tells him, أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Allah tells him that you have so much positive, so much good that you have been given. Focus on the positive, O Prophet. The negative will go away. Those hard times will not last. Eventually you'll get through that. Focus on the positive, be optimistic, and that's how we get through those difficult times. It's a beautiful message, brothers and sisters, of hope and optimism. This is not being delusional. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not telling the Prophet, just close your eyes and say, inshallah, everything will be fine. Bukra, bukra. No, the Prophet is being told, you have tawakkul in Allah, you trust Allah, you be optimistic by all the good things He's given you, and you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised you, He will bring you through this difficult situation. He'll fulfill His promise. Tawakkul in Allah, being optimistic, is we take all the necessary precautions, we take all the measures that we can take, we tie our camel, like the hadith goes, أَعْقِلْهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and then after that, we place our trust in our Lord Almighty. That's that combination. But it starts with optimism and hope. Even in the darkest of times, when, as I told you, the Prophet is going through all these difficult times, rejection, persecution, pressure, Allah is telling him, you be optimistic, O Prophet. Look at all the good you have. This is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet in other parts of the Quran as well. When the Prophet ﷺ lost his son, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ to him, reminding him that indeed we have given you Al-Kawthar, Al-Khayr Al-Kathir, the pond in Jannah. You have so much good, O Prophet. Don't lose sight of all the good that you have in a difficult moment. Don't let the difficulty of the moment make you forget about all the good that you have in life. And that's the first lesson that we can extract in these difficult times. As tough as it might be, as confusing as it might be, we cannot lose hope, and we cannot lose sight of all the good things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and all the beautiful support and solidarity our neighbors are showing us. That's the first lesson. The second one, inshallah, we'll talk in the second khutbah. قُلْ مَا تَسْمَعُونَ وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa ala amma ba'd. If I can just request everybody to make a little bit of space for our brothers who are trying to get a seat. If you can maybe fill the gaps in front of you, next to you, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. In light of Surah Ash-Sharh, Alam Nashrah Laka Sadrak, we're trying to extract lessons that help us make sense of these confusing times. The first one that I mentioned is, we look at all the positives. When the Prophet is going through a difficult time, Allah reminds him of all the good, all the positives. And we need that. We need that reminder, because in difficult times it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget all the good. It's easy to doubt ourselves. It's easy to question if what we're doing is right or wrong. But Allah is saying, no, don't question. You're fine. Look at the good and find hope in that. The second lesson, and I'll leave with that, is the idea that difficulty will pass. It doesn't stay permanently. Difficult times will pass. And more importantly, ease comes with difficulty, and there is more ease than difficulty. And the ayah, the two ayat, إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, they demonstrate that. There's very beautiful meanings here. If you are paying attention to the ayah, you will realize that there is repetition in the ayah. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. For sure, with every hardship there is ease. For sure, with every hardship there is ease. You will see the repetition. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not repeat Himself for no purpose. The scholars comment on what this repetition means. The great Mufassir Ibn Ashur rahimahullah mentions that there's many beautiful benefits of this repetition. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. He says that usr and yusr, ease and difficulty, are opposites. They're opposites, they can't exist together. So when Allah is bringing them in this sentence together and saying that they're they're together, the idea is as follows. The idea is that the person who has iman, the difficulty that comes on them, their iman makes it easy for them to bear that difficulty. The person who has iman, the other point, the difficulty, the moment it comes, the moment it ends, right away ease follows and begins. Two beautiful points. It's not going to, the difficulty, its effect is negated by the iman of a person. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. You believe this ayah for sure? 100% if you believe in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you that ease in that difficult moment. Guaranteed. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. I have no doubt. The ayah is repeated twice. And the moment the ease, or the moment the difficulty ends, relief comes and ease comes, the pain goes. The idea of repetition, the Prophet, the Quran repeats this, and there's in Arabic you have a singular and a dual and plural. You have 1, 2, and then 3 plus. Right? In English we have a singular and a plural only. Okay, but the dual in Arabic is very interesting because it can mean two things literally, like yadani, 2 hands. Or it could mean something more metaphorical. Metaphorical as it's something that repeats a lot. ثُمَّ ارْجِعِ الْبَصَرَ كَرَّتَيْنِ. Go look again and again at the creation of Allah. You won't find any flaws in it. لَبَّيْكَ اللَّهُمَّ لَبَّيْكَ. Allah, we are here responding to your call again and again. Again and again. That's what the two or the dual references. So here when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is repeating the ayah, He's saying, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Your ease will repeat. The relief that Allah gives you will repeat. It will continue to come. The moment you feel difficulty, the ease will come as well. The moment you feel pain and confusion, if you truly believe in Allah, the ease, the relief, the understanding, the clarity will come as well. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. The beautiful repetition alludes to that. And lastly, it is a tone of consolation. You console someone who's lost somebody, you say, it's okay, it's okay. You repeat your words. Tell him it's fine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is consoling the Prophet ﷺ in this difficult time, literally by repeating his words. Consoling him that things will get better, don't you worry. So for us, brothers and sisters, we take consolation in the words of Allah as well. That things are difficult right now, things are confusing, we're trying to make sense of what's happening, but we need to be optimistic. We need to take the good. We need to focus on the good, while also taking precautions against what's bad. And number 2, we need to understand that فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. This pain that we're suffering, this difficulty we're suffering, Allah is going to bring more relief than we have asked for, and more relief to help us get through this. This is the promise of Allah. We find consolation in His words. I ask Allah to give us the tawfiq to understand the Quran and Sunnah and to implement it in our lives. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin fil awwalin wa fil akhirin. Wa salli ala Muhammadin fil mala'i al-a'la ila yawmiddin. Allahumma ahyina ala sunnatihi wa mitna ala millatihi wa ahshurna fi zumratihi wa asqina min hawdihi ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khairu man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar wa qina as-salam.
Thank you.